Constellation Aries. First, Aries in his golden wool. This constellation represents the divine idea, the word of the Kabbalist, the first active manifestation of the glorious Ein Sof. In other words, it is mind in action, the first pulsation of deity in the dual aspects of Lord and Creator. To the human soul, it is and always typifies the unknown, invisible power, which we term intelligence, that which knows, and gives unto each deific atom of life that distinguishing, universal, yet deathless force, which not only constitutes its spiritual identity and physical individuality, but enables it to pronounce in the presence of its Creator those mystic words, I am that I am. In other words, this beautiful constellation symbolizes the first pulsation of that ray of pure intelligence which constitutes the divine ego of the human soul. It is the force that impels ever onward the life atom in its evolutionary progress and reveals to us the beginning or first manifestation of the divine ego as an active, self-existing atom of infinite spirit within angelic spheres. Seeing the actual spiritual reality symbolized in Aries, how easy it is to note its full significance upon the external plane when refracted and reflected into the planes below through the complex action of the human organism, conveying the same radical influx in the first astrological month and the first sign of the zodiac. We can read a perfect parallel in the astral influx upon the human body, as set forth in The Light of Egypt, Volume 1, which says, Aries symbolizes the sacrifice and represents the springtime, the beginning of a new year. The first action of pure intelligence brought forth the first expression of form and led to the sacrifice of its angelic state, and having gained the victory over the lower realms of matter, once more the springtime of a new life with the promise of life, light, and love. The sign Aries represents the thinking powers of humanity. In short, the active intellectual being, the Lord of material creation, man, and in its cosmic relations is shown under the occult application of the 12 signs, Volume 1, we find the same perfect analogy. The constellation Taurus. He, Aries, turns and wonders at the mighty bull, Taurus. The second constellation of the Shining 12 represents the first reaction of spiritual conception. In other words, it is the mind's attention to its own ideas. In the Kabbalah, it represents that peculiar state of executive force, whereof it is symbolically said, and the Lord saw that it was good, after each act of creation. When intelligence first manifests itself, form is a matter of necessity, and as no form can possibly exist without matter, so Taurus is the first emanation of matter in its most etherealized state. Hence, it is feminine, Venus the ruler thereof, and it represents the first pure form of the human soul as it existed in its bright paradise within the angelic spheres of its parents, and reveals to us the first surprise of intelligence in embryo, the first sensation of consciousness, so to say, conscious of its divine selfhood. Hence, he, the male spirit of the pure fire Aries, glorious in his golden solar wool, turns expressing reaction and wonders at the mighty bull, or material form. Thus, the first idea of pure intelligence in embryo, the result of action in Aries, becomes objective to its consciousness and is surprised at its own conception. It is the first sensation of pure divine love within angelic realms, and it, the male spirit of pure fire, sees that it is good. Bringing this spiritual reality within our conception and comparing it with its reflected astrological influx, what a beautiful harmony we find, and yet it's so simple, and verily we cannot refrain from once more quoting our old-time worn yet nevertheless golden law, as it is above, so it is below, as on the earth, so in the sky. Reflecting that Taurus is an earthy sign and a symbol of servitude, we see that matter is ever the servant of spirit, a necessary means for the manifestation of intelligence, again recognizing the fecundating forces of this astrological sign on every plane of its action, and it is ruled by Venus, the love element in nature, her sympathies ever finding expression in this beautiful sign. What can be clearer, more understandable than that the involved principles and deific attributes as represented by the shining constellations, when refracted through the human organism, so complex in its constitution, reflects qualities which are the external and parallel expression of the subjective principles, and further, that form is absolutely necessary for the manifestation of intelligence. Constellation Gemini. He, Taurus, bending lies with threatening bead, and calls the twins, Gemini, to rise. They clasp for fear and mutually embrace. This bright constellation, Castor and Pollux, Gemini, is spiritually representative of the second spiritual action. Hence, it is, of course, a masculine sign and positive. We have witnessed Act 1 of the soul's drama, and, as some have said, tragedy. And in this, the third of the Shining 12, we find the opening scene of Act 2, viz., the evolution of the twin souls, or, more correctly, the differentiation of the divine soul into its two natural component parts, male and female. Here we approach one of the most arcane secrets within the wide scope of occult philosophy, hence must be exact and, at the same time, clear in our statements. Note, then, that after the male spirit of pure ethereal divine fire, Aries, bad conceived the first idea, and Taurus, the material envelope, had given that idea objective existence to the ego's consciousness, we find sensation as the result. No sooner sensation than aspiration, that is to say, longing. This closes the action and the reaction. Ever in obedience to the unsatisfied wants of an immortal soul, nature immediately responds. Hence, he bending lies with threatening head, that is demanding, and calls the twin souls, to rise to appear or evolve forth, and, as a first rude shock caused by the separation, or rather by their separate existence, as two distinct yet mutually dependent forces, we have the context. They clasp for fear and mutually embrace. This most impressive scene in the soul's drama is one of profound interest and sublime beauty. In the Kabbalah, we find the same parallel, wherein it is stated, "And so God created man in his own image," the action of Aries and Taurus. "In his own image, mind, created he him. Male and female created he them." In other words, Aries, Taurus, and Gemini are thus spoken of in pure allegory. The mundane Bible of the Jews, like everything else esteemed sacred, finds its original and perfect expression in the great astral Bible of the skies. To the average student, the evolution of the twin souls is a profound mystery, embracing as it does the whole of involution and evolution, seeing that this beautiful constellation represents to us the first recognition or consciousness of the divine ego, of its dual forces, sensation and aspiration, called forth by the action of Aries and Taurus. How beautifully has the poet expressed this first pulsation of divine love. They clasp for fear, etc. Evolved by the divine will of pure intelligence, they must ever remain as separate, yet mutually dependent forces, positive and negative, male and female, upon whose action and reaction rests the perfect evolvement of the powers and possibilities of the one. In order to clearly grasp the whole of these ramifications, we again invite our students' careful attention to the same sign, Gemini, in its astrological aspect, as it is representatively expressed by refraction from the human organism. We find that this sign, the representative of the constellation always, signifies the union of reason with intuition, and that it governs the arms, hands, and executive forces of man. Surely, as we reflect upon the almost marvelous interrelationship between things spiritual and things temporal, we must conclude with the man Jesus that they have eyes, but they see not, and ears, but alas, they hear not. If it were not so, man would indeed, by virtue of the latent forces within him, take the kingdom of heaven by storm, and reign supreme as enthroned king of all material forms. Man, in his blindness, has relegated intuition to obscurity, has neglected the cunning of the left hand, and debauched the pure love of the divine state. Consequently, the executive forces within him are unbalanced, thus rendering him the slave of material forms, instead of being their lawful sovereign. Therefore, not until with clean hands and pure heart he restores intuition to her throne, united with reason, can he hope to comprehend the reality of this arcane mystery of the twin souls, Gemini.